welcome back to the Blue Door Pub Thunderdome for another Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast, the show about everything and nothing sports adjacent. And remember, everybody's middle name is Jerome. Sitting solo today on a Friday. Nick has the evening off, and he's right now he's right in the thick of that stupid anime movie that we were talking about. What was it? Ordnance Sword, like broad strokes. I have no idea. Like I'm fairly certain I'm the only Asian male in the world who doesn't give two about anime. It's weird. I know. Tell a friend, spread the word. iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Like us on Facebook. We're growing there as well. Facebook.com/bullshow. Pretty straightforward. And bullshow.co is the website. But yeah, bring it on in. NFL free agency, baby. Oh yeah. Love it. Feels good. We're going to be talking about all the NFL free agency. Well, at least we're going to try to be up to date, because right now it is 11:08 p.m. Central Time on Thursday evening, and I wanted to do this at a time. I was debating between doing it late Thursday and early Friday morning so we could have the most up-to-date news, because it was really annoying. I did Purple for the Win on Thursday afternoon, and then like an hour after the episode came out, we signed Riley Reiff, and that changes everything that we talked about on the show. Yeah, so we'll talk about that from a Vikings angle. We'll talk league-wide as well, and some of the headliners. The Browns freaking bought a draft pick. I'm still blown away and flabbergasted by what the Browns are doing. I'm really impressed. I'm rooting for Sachi Brown and the Browns and this whole rebuilding thing. They had a great day. So they cut RG3, which is probably a big step. They ate Brock Osweiler's contract. They traded a 4th rounder for Houston's 2nd rounder and a 6th, and they signed in open free agency Kevin Zeitler, the best guard, Kenny Britt, a pretty good wide receiver, J.C. Treader, the best center, and re-signed their own monster, Joel Bitonio. And yeah, whoever ends up starting quarterback there in Cleveland, well, we know who it's not going to be. There's 2 human beings on this planet who are not going to be the starting quarterback for the Browns, RG3 and Brock Osweiler. But whoever starts there, hell, maybe it's the USC kid. What's that jabroni's name? He's a small guy. The Brownman last year. It's really escaping me. But whoever ends up starting there, maybe they'll draft Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Kaiser. Did I say Deshaun Kaiser? That's not his name. It's late. Either way, they're setting up well. It's a really interesting experiment where instead of the half-assed rebuild attempt where you still try and field a competent team, and many teams have been guilty of this. They completely burned the mother down, cleared off all of their bad contracts, and now they're building back up. There's a reason they had $100 million in cap space to start off free agency before they started spending on their own guys and gobbling up Brock Osweiler's contract. It's amazing. I think the Jets. I think the Jets are going to try and replicate. I don't know if they'll have that same leash. Like, I don't know if McCagnon and Todd Bowles will have that same leeway as Sashi and Hugh Jackson do, but remains to be seen. Also something you should see is our Amazon link. bullshow.co/Amazon. It'll take you right to the homepage. Bookmark it. Just drag that little link down to your bookmark bar, and we'll get a couple nickels in the tin and keep the lights on in this mother. You guys have been very generous, and I love how you do to support all the various shows. Purple for the Win, Dad Mode, this show as well, because it's something you already do. And the fact that you just keep us in mind when you're doing that and just helping us out by something you already do, we appreciate that. It's very, very nice. All right, let's get into some of these football talkers. Where's my football sound? I don't know what's going on. Anyways, Riley Reiff signs with the Minnesota Vikings. As of taping, details on the contract have not been released. And been going back and forth on this because it's very possible that Ricky Wagner's contract, $9.5 million to be the right tackle of the Lions. It's fairly possible that Riley Reiff's contract could be not in the neighborhood, but it might be a little bit surprising how large it is. That's what she said. Maybe it'll be a 4-year, $6-7 million per. Yeah, maybe a little bit much for Riley Reiff, but I think what they're factoring in is Riley Reiff is going to be the left tackle. As of right now, Riley Reiff has to be the betting favorite to be the Vikings starting left tackle week 1. And you get, who else do you have on the roster? You got TJ Clemmings, who was an abject failure at left tackle, probably has a better chance to be a right tackle. Now, I'm not completely throwing in the towel on him. I haven't completely just jump shift off of Clemmings. Spielman has noted that they're going to try Clemmings again on the right side exclusively, let him learn one position, and hopefully he'll grow from there. So he's not going to be in the left tackle mix unless we have 17 injuries again. Jeremiah Searles, maybe rather have him at guard or right tackle. And then you got Rashad Hill, who was signed off the Jaguars practice squad midseason last year and was inactive for every game except for the last week against the Bears, and only got to play because TJ Clemmings was hurt. He got hurt. He came in. He played very well, and he's intriguing. He's got all the measurables. He looks like how a prototypical left tackle should look, except you're not going to be rolling in with was he a 7th rounder or undrafted with the Jaguars? Really does not matter. A unheralded, unproven, half a game that looks good. You're not going to just be like, that's our left tackle. Let's freaking go. That's why, even though the Vikings missed out on Ricky Wagner, I was not on board overpaying for him. Like, he's a talented guy, had a great 2016, but before that, career kind of up and down. Andrew Whitworth, I was in. I was in on Andrew Whitworth, even though it didn't look like he was going to be leaving Cincinnati, but he did jump ship, and things moved fast, and he ended up inking with the Rams, 3 years, $36 million, $15 million guaranteed. I hope that the Vikings had reached out and put an offer in that ballpark. And if the money was all equal, you got a guy, a Southern boy. He went to LSU, was born and raised in Louisiana. Likes that warm weather. Spending the entire career in Cincinnati, especially when the Bengals were bad for a number of years. He's in the cold in those late season games. Let's try the California sunshine. I completely understand that. So maybe the Vikings were in. Maybe the Vikings were offering something rather comparable to Andrew Whitworth, and he was just like, you know what, guys, I'm just going to head off to Cali. And, God bless him, more power to him. And no Russell Okung, who ended up in Los Angeles. I'm trying to bring up his numbers here. It doesn't really matter. I was pretty much, I was kind of tepid on Okung. Like, if it happened, fine. If not, oh well. He didn't have an agent, so he had to wait until he couldn't participate in legal tampering, even though him and the Chargers hammered out that contract pretty damn quick. 4 years, $53 million, and $25 guaranteed. And also with all these contracts, you have to look at the guarantee, because that's really the only thing that matters. And like when Andrew Sendejo signed his 4-year, $16 million deal, people freaked out, even though they didn't read that it was a 1-year deal with $4 million guaranteed, all in the first year. So Sendejo's contract right now isn't worth toilet paper if the Vikings deem it not to be worth it. Yeah. And if the Vikings had landed Okung and Riley Reiff, that would have been amazing. That would have been a fantastic haul. That would have been A+, as opposed to the B+, A- grade that I'm giving right now. And the thing about it is that would have taken up a massive chunk of the Vikings cap room that they have left. They have $38 million coming in. We still don't know the Reiff contract details, but Russell Okung averaging $13.25 million over the 4 years of that deal. That is a big chunk, man. And he is nowhere near as good as Andrew Whitworth, even though, yes, he is 6 years younger. I'm sorry, Russell Okung. But sticking with the guy that we got, I like Riley Reiff. He's a South Dakota boy. He's an Iowa guy. He's everything you usually get with an Iowa offensive lineman. Tough nose, meat and potatoes, lunch pail guy, no real nonsense muss or fuss about it. And he didn't have a great 2016. They shifted him over to right tackle and didn't have a great year. His PFF was 67.5, and he was 68.7 in pass blocking. And for reference, TJ Clemmings last year between right tackle and left tackle had a PFF grade of 28.3 and a pass blocking grade of 26.7. If you look at the numbers, him and Riley Reiff and Searles, in between Searles' right tackle and right guard time, were relatively interchangeable. They have about the same PFF grade. Reiff grades higher in pass blocking. Searles grades better in run blocking, as you would expect. And I think Reiff is relatively underrated as a left tackle, and that's where he's penciled in right now. The thing that happened with Reiff is that last year Taylor Decker was available in the draft. And Taylor Decker, great talent, is going to be their left tackle for 5-10 years. Pretty solid player. And so he was an upgrade over Riley Reiff specifically at left tackle. And I don't blame the Lions for doing that. They shifted Riley Reiff over the right side. He's not as good of a right tackle. And then in the offseason, they decided not to pick him up because Ricky Wagner was available. Ricky Wagner is a better right tackle than Riley Reiff. So it's a spot where he is what he is. He's never going to be an elite talent, but he is above average and solid. And above average and solid is something that we haven't been able to say about the Vikings offensive line in recent years, especially with the insane money that Carolina threw at Matt Khalil. 5 years, $55 million, $25 guaranteed. I ain't about that life. I was not going to be about that life. We probably got Riley Reiff for 60% of what Carolina paid for Matt Khalil. And if you believe the rumors, personally, I don't. It seemed like the Vikings were in almost that deep with Matt Khalil. If the Vikings had paid Matt Khalil $50 million over 5 years with 25 guaranteed, I would have been pissed. I would have been straight up gone. Like, I would have been fine with Khalil coming back on a 1-year or 2-year incentive-laden deal, something where, hey, you have to prove your worth to get paid. And I feel like that's the level of compensation that he had deserved. But as you've seen, once players hit free agency, it can be the Wild West out there. Teams have money to spend. You have to spend it. And it's drunken sailor time out there, man. Like some of these contracts that we'll go over in a second are kind of mind-blowing. It is pretty crazy. But with Riley Reiff, I believe in Rashad Hill, except you're not going to throw him out there week 1. And also the Vikings aren't in a position where they're going to be drafting, and this draft isn't very conducive for any player that's going to be starting left tackle week 1 either. I don't think there's going to – maybe Garrett Bowles out of Utah, depending on where he lands, is probably going to be the only player of this draft that starts left tackle week 1 in the NFL. Like Cam Robinson and Ramczyk, maybe they start out as a guard, maybe they start out as a right tackle, whatever. You've seen that, like last year, Laramie Tunsil was probably the most. Laramie Tunsil, Ronnie Stanley were up there in terms of NFL-ready left tackles, and Tunsil started off as left guard because they were still rolling with Brandon Albert in Miami, and now he's finally kicking out. I believe, I'm not completely sure, but I think Ronnie Stanley started at left tackle from week 1. Pretty sure. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. There's no plug-and-play left tackles in this draft. So the rookie TBD, whether it be Taylor Moton and Antonio Garcia, a Julian Davenport, like they're not going to be ready. Yeah, they're not going to be ready to be starting a left tackle week 1 in the NFL. And you got Riley Reiff. He's going to be a decent plug-and-play option at left tackle. And if Rashad Hill, rookie TBD, once they're ready to go, ready to take the reins, shift Riley Reiff over to the right side. Or, hell, kick him down to guard. Doesn't really matter. You have a decent piece that is going to be versatile, and I'm not mad at all. I think this is a pretty damn good day for the Vikings, though, yes, we didn't get all the bright and shiny toys, whatever. Let's see here. Some Vikings that are going elsewhere. Red Ellison signed with the Giants 4 years, $18 million with $8 million guaranteed. He lands in a really good spot. They do have Will Tye on the roster. It's kind of meh. And, Red Ellison, that contract is a little bit more than blocking tight end, but that's essentially what he is. He's a blocking tight end. He's got some receiving skills. He's got a little bit of playmaking ability to him, but overall, he's a tight end too. He's the dirty work guy, the H-back, the blocking tight end, and that's what he's going there to do. Jeff Locke, who would have thought that Jeff Locke would have been a big loss. Last offseason, if you said that Jeff Locke was going to leave free agency in 2017, you'd be like, all right, deuces. And then he has the best season of his career, and then he just leaves. Yeah, 2 years, $3.45 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts, replacing Pat McAfee, and $1.25 million guaranteed. So it's not even like he left for big money. He just wanted to leave. Like he just wanted to get out, which is pretty funny. But also, I don't really blame him. Like, these players are humans too, and I'm sure they read about themselves on social media or in the papers or on Facebook, and you've seen how it weighed on Matt Khalil personally. He took it personal. Jeff Locke, he easily may have. And now, if the money is the same, why would you go back to the place where the fan base has shown you nothing but vitriol as opposed to starting new, starting fresh? And I think that's what happened with Jeff Locke. I think that's why he left so quickly for not a lot of money. Let's see here. Vikings were briefly in on Alshon Jeffrey, and then he went off and signed a 1-year, $14 million deal with the Eagles. Basically, he's trying to cash in. He's trying to show a 1 year that he can do it. Basically, a franchise tag, him going to Philadelphia, in essence, But then the Vikings have been in contact, reports say, with Michael Floyd, the pride of Cretin-Durham Hall, formerly of the Arizona Cardinals, and also a practice squad participant, game day inactive Super Bowl champion, Michael Floyd. Good times. And that spot is a couple wide receiver spots are open because no movement on the Cordero Patterson talks, and also Charles Johnson was not tendered as restricted free agent, and he became a free agent. So number 12, he gone too. Next up, a couple free agents that are still out there. The names that you've heard of. Colin Kaepernick, Jay Cutler just got cut by the Bears. Adrian Peterson is out there and still hearing no steam at all. Mike Florio pointing out he was on with Paul Allen this morning or Thursday morning. No teams have shown interest in Adrian Peterson. Julius Peppers is 37, but he's still out there. Martellus Bennett with the Patriots trading for Dwayne Allen. He's essentially out the door. Said goodbye to all the massholes in a tweet, or was it Instagram? Doesn't really matter. So there are still some big names to be had, even though the game of musical chairs are starting to close down. But that's the thing. The second and third wave wide receivers of the guys that sign small 1-year deals, that's the real backbone of free agency. That's where you start getting the Tom Johnsons, the Joe Bergers, the guys that just really supplement your team, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, a la looking at you, Andre Smith. But this is when teams start building up. They shot their wad in cap space, and now they have to start just adding and supplementing pieces. And this is where the smart teams make hay in free agency. Some of the winners. We'll go over the big contracts. So going down the guaranteed money, the champion. We are the champion of the guaranteed money was Kevin Zeitler, 27 years old, goes from Cincinnati to Cleveland, stays in state of 5 years, $60 million, 31.5 guaranteed. Now he is the best guard in the market, but we've seen before. Kelechi Assembly was an anomaly of a guard that gets massively overpaid. His contract is essentially Kevin Zeitler's contract, a year before it, without inflation, which is pretty insane. But you look back at Mike Iupati's and Andy Levitri's and Zane Beadles and Carl Nix. There's always one guard every single year that gets the massive contract and does not live up to it. Kelechi Assembly has, maybe Kevin Zeitler will, and he's going to be surrounded by a lot of talent. Oh my goodness. They got J.C. Treader, signed for center. They got Joe Thomas, obviously, Joel Bitonio. Kevin Zeitler now slides in at right guard. And then a right tackle, they could kick out Cam Irving. And they could do a lot of things there on that offensive line. It's going to be a damn good unit in Cleveland. Next up, Calais Campbell. Longtime Arizona Cardinal, still got some tread on the tires even at age 30, and he's going to Jacksonville, 4 years, $60 million with 30 guaranteed. There's some hubbub that he might have flipped and gone to Denver at the end, but still stays with Jacksonville. He's going to be an inside presence there. And he's going to be he was a D end in Arizona, but he's probably going to be a 4-3 D tackle inside pass rush, and he still got some disruptiveness to him. And they've got a lot of talent down in Jacksonville, but it's the same thing with Cleveland. They've got a lot of young talent, haven't quite put it together yet. You could say the same thing about Minnesota. A lot of young talent haven't quite gotten it together yet. Brandon Williams up next. He got a 5-year, $54 million, $27.5 million guaranteed deal to stay in Baltimore. Yeah, D tackle, Mount Pius. There we go. And the other two names I want to get to is AJ Bowie, also joining the Jaguars. The Jaguars. Oh, I gotta bring this up. Jaguars roster, because Doug Marrone. I don't know how Doug Marrone did it, but he backdoored his way into one of the most intriguing defensive talent-wise roster in the NFL. So they signed Calais Campbell, they signed AJ Bowie, who's the top cornerback, and then also you got let's see here, Dante Fowler, Malik Jackson, who's a big free agent signing last year. You got Miles Jack, you got Paul Puslesny, you got Telvin Smith. And you got Aaron Coleman, you got Jalen Ramsey, you got a lot. Oh, my goodness. I mean, my goodness. It's pretty amazing. Where was I? Oh, Matt Khalil, obviously. The 5 years, $55 million, $25 million. Honestly, if the Vikings were even in that strata, if they were offering him anything in the $9 to $10 million a year range, I would be pissed. I would be just straight up just going, no, done. Also of note, the wide receivers. Wide receivers got pretty well taken care of. Notably, Pierre Garçon signed with San Francisco, 5 years, $47.5, 17 guaranteed. Pierre Garçon at age 30. Yeah, and it's like most of these deals, it's front loaded. Pierre Garçon is going to make $16 million in 2017. $16 million. In the same boat of age wide receivers, Deshaun Jackson, 30 years old, head down to Tampa, 3 years, $35 million with 20 guaranteed. I really love this. I really love this pickup because Vincent Jackson's done in Tampa Bay, and Deshaun Jackson is like the polar opposite type of wide receiver than Vincent Jackson. And you put him with Mike Evans, and then you got Adam Humphries working the slot, who I really like Adam Humphries. You got some pretty decent options down there for Jameis Winston. Not bad. Robert Woods, randomly, he's the guy that you would not want as your number 2 receiver, but you're okay with him as a number 4. 5 years, $39 million, 15 guaranteed with the Rams. This is the Robert Woods, a USC guy, so it makes sense. He is going home, and this is the Marvin Jones contract from last year, where Marvin Jones got 5 years, $40 million, and I believe 20 guaranteed. Yeah, this is one of the ones where weren't you the number 4 receiver on some random team that wasn't very good, and now you're getting paid? Yeah. And lastly, Kenny Britt leaving the Rams, going to Cleveland, 4 years, $32.5. A lot of reports had him tied to the Eagles right away, but of course, in the non-binding legal tampering sphere, you can pretty much go back wherever you want. It's like kids, high school kids committing to colleges verbally before National Signing Day. Yeah, that's basically the same thing. Kenny Britt had $17 million in there as well. The quarterbacks and the music to my ears as a Minnesota Vikings fan, and sure is very welcome to all the other members of the NFC North. Mike friggin' Glennon, 3 years, $45 million, 18.5 guaranteed for the Chicago Bears. A guy who, don't get me wrong, I think Mike Glennon is a fine NFL quarterback, a fine backup quarterback, in the mold of the Matt Castle, the Chad Henne, the Sean Hill, the Matt Schaub. He's not a starter. And yes, I know Matt Schaub. Maybe that was a bad example because he had a couple good years in Houston. I don't even think Mike Glennon has that. I think this is going to fail spectacularly. I think John Fox and Ryan Pace are going to be fired in Chicago, and it just keeps on keeping on down there. Oh, I love it. I really do just love it. A couple of the team winners. Now, let's go through this. So, Washington. No. Where am I going here? This is good radio, by the way. So Baltimore, I like what Baltimore did, keeping Brandon Williams. They got Tony Jefferson, the safety from Arizona, 4 years, $36 million, 14 guaranteed, and he was their top free agent option. And then you pair him up with Eric Weddle. That's pretty good rebuilding of the back end, especially with Matt Elam getting out of Dodge. And then you had Danny Woodhead, little Danny, 3-year deal. Details not released as of yet, even though he's 32 years old, coming off the ACL, still has plenty of skills. He'll probably lead the Ravens run backs and snaps. And it was fortuitous because maybe they knew of the news breaking today that Kenneth Dixon, the second-year man on Louisiana Tech, is going to be facing a 4-game PED suspension. And I'll tell you what, my fantasy team from last year can attest that Kenneth Dixon was not taking PEDs last year. That's for damn sure. All right, so Buffalo's been doing some interesting things. They re-signed Tyrod Taylor. They worked that out. They kissed and made nice. And then they signed two fullbacks, Patrick DeMarco and Mike Tolbert. And by the way, their tight end Charles Clay is an H-back. So they basically have 3 fullbacks in the mix there, which is odd. It seems kind of odd, right? Then they picked up Jordan Poyer from Cleveland. Stephen Hauschka is coming over from Seattle. Oh, by the way, Stephen Hauschka now officially coming to terms with Bills. That means that Blair Walsh is the kicker of your Seattle Seahawks. And then the big splash for the Bills, they signed Micah Hyde, 5 years, $30 million, 14 guaranteed, away from the Green Bay Packers, which is always good. Yeah, it always sounds good to me, baby. Yeah. Also, they signed Vlad Dukas for some reason. And they lost Stephon Gilmore in the division to the Patriots, and it does seem like the Patriots are going to be moving on from Malcolm Butler. They might trade him. The rumors are Malcolm Butler to New Orleans for Brandon Cooks. I think that would be a pretty damn good deal, but who really knows? We touched on Cleveland a little bit. Zeitler, Kenny Britt, Jace Treader coming in, and just I love the forward thinking that the Browns just did, getting this trade approved in the league, because you can't straight up trade cash for a draft pick. Like they frown upon that, even though they do it in the NBA all the time. That's what would have been if the Knicks and the Wolves pulled off that trade of Derrick Rose for Ricky Rubio. Basically, the Wolves just wanted for Rose's expiring contract. Yeah, but like we mentioned at the top, they traded a 4th rounder, which is the first pick in the 4th round, so it's a pretty decent pick. To Houston for their Houston 2nd rounder, a 6th rounder, and Brock Osweiler. The Browns will eat all of Brock's $16 million in 2017. The Texans free up $10 million in cap space and $16 million in cash. And now, probably make a run at Tony Romo, keep him in Texas. Yeah, I think it works out for both teams. And here's the best thing about it. The Browns have so much cap room is that they could agree to eat, say, like 3/4 of Brock's money, like $12 million in 2016, and trade him again. Trade him to another team that maybe give up like a 4th-round pick for him. Yeah, they'll be fine. And the Browns, I got to look this up. The Browns picks 2017. 2018. It's insane. It's insane that the picks they have. No. So they have the number 1 overall pick this year, and they have the number 12 overall pick from the Eagles from the Carson Wentz trade last year. They have 2 second-round picks that they shifted with the Titans. They got a 3rd rounder, 4th rounder, 3 5th-rounders this year. From the Barkevius Mingo trade from the Patriots, and also they got a compensatory pick. 2 6th-rounders, the 6th rounder they added from the Texans. Oh, they don't have a 7th rounder. Oh, wow, sad. 2018 draft, they got 1 1st-rounder, their own pick. 2nd round, they have 3. They have 3 from the Brock Osweiler trade. Wait, no, that's not right, is it? That doesn't matter. And also from the Eagles for Carson Wentz. And so they're stacked. Yeah, they're ready to go. Really interested to see what's going to happen in Cleveland. Maybe just Cleveland's still Cleveland's, but I'm not betting on it. The Cavs finally getting the win, and yes, I know the Indians blew a 3-1 lead against the Cubs, although the Cubs were a much better team, so I don't really think that's as bad as the Warriors blowing a 3-1 lead against the Cavs. It's might be a new day in Cleveland. It may be a completely new day. All right, so let's see who else do we like here. So Jacksonville, A.J. Bowie, Calais Campbell, always good as well. The Rams, apparently they signed Aaron Murray, which I think Murray would be a pretty decent backup. A lot of people liked him coming out of Georgia. Ended up being a fifth-round pick of the Chiefs. Bounced around a couple practice squads. He'll be a decent backup. Like he's the cerebral, sort of safe, sort of the backup quarterback that's going to have a 10-year career. And then also, of course, signing Andrew Whitworth and Robert Woods. Not a bad day for them. Let's see here. Saints re-signed Nick Fairley, brought in A.J. Klein from the Panthers, Larry Warford from the Lions, which is unfortunate. Wouldn't mind seeing him in purple. And then Ted Ginn coming over from Carolina. And Ted Ginn, by the way, if you think about it, was the Panthers' best receiver. Kelvin Benjamin, overrated. Absolutely is. And Devin Funchess not quite ready to go. And Philly Brown, like you probably do better than Philly Brown. Yeah, sorry. Philadelphia, definitely beefing up their wide receivers, adding Torrey Smith, 3 years, $15 million, $500,000 guaranteed. So that is a value deal if I've ever seen one. Then Alshon Jeffrey, 1 year, $14 million. And then bringing Chance Warmack on a cheap 1-year deal from Tennessee as well, giving Carson Wentz a little something to work with. San Francisco, Seattle signed Luke Jokel, son of a bitch. San Francisco adding Pierre Garçon, Malcolm Smith, Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk, by the way, 4 years, $21 million, 10.5 guaranteed. I believe he's the 9th highest paid running back in 2017, and he's a fullback. Yeah, it's crazy. Earl Mitchell, 4-year, $16 million deal, 6.5 guaranteed, D-tackle from Miami. And then Brian Hoyer they're bringing in as sort of the stopgap because it doesn't look like the Kirk Cousins trade is going down. And, yeah. Speaking of Kirk Cousins trade, Washington. What the hell is going on with Washington? That's what I want to know. So Scott McLuhan, it started out as a weird thing where he was away from the team, and then reports came out that he had been barred from the team facilities for months, including into the season. And then McLuhan was like, my mother passed away. I'm taking care of family business. And then maybe he didn't want to get into that. But then they were going to the combine and making offers to free agents and giving Kirk Cousins his franchise tag. All of that without their GM. And it finally came to a head Thursday, officially announced the firing. And then so Scott McLuhan, background, if you guys didn't know, has a great track record of being a GM or a senior decision maker, senior talent evaluator with teams in San Francisco. He was a GM there for a spell, went up to Seattle, and was a big part in helping San Francisco build up a lot of talent, go to Super Bowl with Jim Harbaugh, excuse me. And then also, the drafting of Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman, and just putting together that mini dynasty up in Seattle. And his main issue was alcoholism. Like, self-admittedly, he was an alcoholic. And now he was hired in Washington, put together 2 pretty solid drafts. Looked like that team was heading in the right direction. You got Kirk Cousins, who's maybe not a top 5 quarterback, but he's damn well good enough. And now the rumors are coming out that he showed up drunk to practices and games, and this is all leaking from Washington HQ, and you can never really trust Dan Snyder. Hell, you can't even trust Bruce Allen. Bruce Allen looking like a snake in this whole thing. And yes, it's certainly possible that he could have fell off the wagon. Yeah, but I don't know. It really feels like Washington did him dirty here. Yeah. And, if I'm the Vikings, bring Scott McLuhan in as a draft consultant, because the dude obviously has an eye for draft talent, and maybe, the pressure of being the GM, maybe if that pressure's off, maybe you can just let him focus on the draft. Maybe he's the director of college scouting or assistant director of college scouting. Maybe that's a perfect setup for him. Let him evaluate college players, have him be in a dark room, just watch tape all day, and maybe they'll take care of it. Yeah, who really knows? But, that's free agency so far, rolling on a Friday. Hey, enjoy your day, and I'm sure all these analysis and takes will be just completely moot by the time you hear this, but that's how free agency goes, man. It's a good time. Oh, also, speaking of a good time, heading down to the Warriors game tonight. Going to hang out with Lindsey Young and Arif Hassan and Eric Thompson and Yinka Ayinde and Daniel House as well. Going to be taking in the Warriors, blowing a 3-1 lead against the Wolves, and it'll be fun. I can't really remember the last time I went to a Wolves game. It has to be at least 5 years ago. It was before Wiggins, that's for sure. I don't know, it's just never really my thing. But, Lindsey got the posse together, and it's going to be good. I'm going to be getting down there with Lyft, and you should get around with Lyft as well. bullshow.co/Lyft, LYFT, $25 off your first couple of rides. That's what we're doing, just by downloading the app through us. bullshow.co/Lyft, serving the entire Twin Cities metro area, and also Rochester. That just popped up, baby. Good times. Download the app today. And also Blue Door Pub, fish fries every single Friday, $12 all you can eat, cod, and $14 pitchers of B-side Pilsner every single Friday during Lent all the way up through Easter at the Longfellow and University on Como locations. And here's what you do: get the cod, get a pitcher, get entered in a drawing. You can win a trip, 2 nights chase on the lake in Walker, Minnesota, and lots of cool stuff from Blue Door and Indeed, like an Indeed Patagonia vest, fishing pole, custom Indeed Blue Door tackle box filled with burr. TheBDP.com for all of those details. And heading off into the weekend. Hope you enjoyed another week of Boo with Andy Carlson. We'll be back on Monday. We'll have Nick in studio. We'll talk, I don't know, probably stupid stuff like movies. If you enjoyed the show, tell a friend, spread the word, add to the Jerome Army, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and let's keep on rolling on. Thanks, producer Allie, for making me not sound so stupid today. But for me, I'm Andy Carlson saying annyeong, sayonara, and bye-bye. Have an awesome week, you guys. Go kick some ass.
Thanks for listening to Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast. Download the show on iTunes. Everyone's middle name is Jerome.